We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, if you can hit the like button on the stream, it helps us, helps the network. It's time to get into it. Matt Broder joining us, our Detroit Lions beat reporter for Woodward Sports. The man with the plan.
Let's go.
The man with the inside info, Matt Broder. How you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
It's so much better with a victory week.
Yeah, it's
having these conversations, being a little more optimistic. I love it.
It really is. On Saturday, excuse me, got to get used to that. On Saturday, and we talked about this before, you had to watch the Pistons lose by 40. So I'm sitting there thinking, please, can the Detroit Lions get a win today? And boy, did they. And Jared Goff, a guy who's under some questions, especially the last couple of games, he answered the call. 5 touchdown passes. He played really well. You had Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs. It was perfect. All the rookies showed out. The defense played probably arguably their best game of the year.
Yeah.
Just kind of some of your takeaways from the game itself, some of the things you want to highlight.
Yeah, to me, this was the first full complimentary football game, or the first complete game that they put together. Both the offense, defense, and even the special teams played well, or didn't get in the way, I should say. Michael Badgley, the Money Badger, he was hitting some field goals in warm-ups, and fortunately didn't have to test him in the game. But no, they played great. It wasn't the perfect start that we were hoping for. You know, the Detroit Lions offense came out, and they were targeting J-Mo early, which is great, and we'll talk about that. But 3 straight punts to start off the game. Not exactly how you scripted it, but the defense was right there to support them through that. And as soon as that offense got rolling, it was almost game over. I mean, the Broncos didn't have an answer for any of the things that Ben Johnson and that offense were throwing at them.
42 points in 3 quarters, Sam. It seems like Future got in Russ's head before the game. I'm glad you played Future. Thank you for that.
And as I said,
over the people at Fort
and
Pitt.
as I said, I think it was off camera. It may have been on the show that you got to take every advantage that you can. So if you want to get in Russell Wilson's head by playing Future, I am all for it. And speaking of quarterbacks, Matt Broder, how big of a victory lap do you want to take on Jared Goff right now on this show? Go for it.
No, he played great. I'm not gonna take the troll route. That's what I expect of Goff. And this might be controversial. I don't think he played significantly better than he did in Chicago or some of these games, but the mistakes that he was making, he cleaned up. He didn't turn the ball over. Some of the balls bounced the right way. He was able to find some of his receivers all over the field. And I think, I know he didn't complete every single pass to start the game, but they were targeting Jameson Williams early and often. It was 7 targets on the game, only 4 catches, 4 pretty good catches, but it was the fact that they were going to him early. They were trusting Jared Goff in that passing game. Even though it didn't click at the beginning, I think that opened up everything for the rest of the game. We saw the Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown wide open over the middle. He was able to hit him on the little diamond route coming out of the backfield. The Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown, almost the exact same route, hitting him wide open in the middle of the field. That's all set up by that pass game, attacking Jameson Williams at the beginning of the game. It was awesome. And to see Jared Goff just deliver when a lot of people counted him out and there was a lot of negativity sent his way, he just stayed calm, cool, and collected and delivered a really great performance when the Lions needed him the most.
Yeah, no question. And you know what else they needed is that offensive line back healthy because, man, they were able to run the football.
It's everything.
Yeah, it is. And I believe it was Frank that said that, that they'll go as the team will go as the offensive line goes, especially offensively. How significant is that to get those guys back? I know Frank had a meniscus tear and repaired it and was back the next week. Like he's built different.
Absolutely crazy. It's that offensive line being healthy is almost everything. I mean, it allows Jared Goff time in the pocket when he's passing. It allows them to set up the run game, to establish that run game and stick with it throughout the entire game. And then that opens up the play action pass, which is his bread and the butter. None of that works if that offensive line isn't clicking, if they're letting pressure through the middle like we've seen over the last couple of weeks. So it's not one man's responsibility, but when that offensive line is healthy, there is good. This team can, at least on the offensive end, can play with anybody in the entire league. And I'd argue, even when that offensive line is healthy, that brings some mentality to the entire team. You see the defensive line step up. I don't know how to equate that exactly, but there is an energy that comes along with it, and this team is built on their offensive line, and that's the way they played. That's the way they scored 42 points on Saturday.
No question.
Yeah, almost equally as impressive as the offense was. How about the defense? It was a bit of a get-right game for them, who have often been maligned for a lot of the season, and you saw the adjustments that were made. Iffy Melifonwu was getting more playing time. He balled out. Kindle Vildor, Khalil Dorsey, they did some more blitzing. You saw Josh Pascal step up. You saw
Buggs.
Alex Anzalone, Isaiah Buggs.
The big fella.
It was a hell of a defensive performance. And my question to you, Matt Broder, is how sustainable do you think that this is for the final stretch of the season and going into the playoffs?
For the final stretch of the season, I think it's sustainable, but sustaining it through the playoffs, I need this group to show me a little more. Show me over a longer sample size. I'd love that these guys, some of these guys that haven't gotten much playing time throughout their careers and definitely throughout this year, they stepped up in a big way. And you mentioned there's a bunch of them. Kindle Vildor at cornerback had a huge pressure on Russell Wilson. Khalil Dorsey, he stepped in there. Usually a special teams guy. I thought he played really well at cornerback. He even made a mistake on the very first play to Jerry Jeudy, but it was 2 plays later that he stepped up and read. It was a wide receiver, or I guess a screen to McLaughlin, one of their backup running backs, that he blew up right at the line of scrimmage. And then when you think about Iffy Melifonwu, this is part of the identity of the team. He was one that came over in the Jared Goff trade, the Matthew Stafford trade. He's just been hurt these last couple of years. He hasn't been able to stay on the field because of his injuries. But when he was out there, man, we saw a game changer, a game breaker in the way he was playing. He's 6'3", about 225 pounds, and he was all over the place, both in coverage and rushing the passer. He forced the sack and the forced fumble on Russell Wilson earlier in the game that Buggs picked up and went rumbling and tumbling down the field. Iffy was huge. I mean, he was. I know PFF doesn't say this, but he was the best defensive player on the field that game.
I 100% agree. And it's better for the defense when the offense, you're not turning the football over.
100%.
Because I think that was the thing. Like, the offense, they're struggling. They're turning the football over. Dan even said that. But then people are coming after the defense. And you see, like you just said, you nailed it, complementary football. They played that way. Well, a person who was a part of the complementary football on offense, Jamison Williams.
Yes.
You know, I'm just glad they got him involved early. And they showed the Broncos right off the bat. We're going to J-Mo. You're going to have to key in on him and his speed. And same with Jameer, but of course the run game is going to open things up. But J-Mo's speed opens up things for everyone else as well. And the fact that he did get involved on Saturday, it was nice to see because it's something I've been asking for. He had the most catches in his Lions career, finally, and had the most targets. So for a guy like that, and there was a couple opportunities, him and Goff just didn't connect, but you saw him out there get open. What was it like for you just watching J-Mo and some of your takeaways? Because he had the contested catch, made a guy miss. It was nice. You're starting to see a confident Jamison Williams, it seems like.
Yes, and we got to see him do things sort of all over the field, do different. Like, almost each one of his catches and almost each one of his targets were a little bit different. There was a wide receiver screen earlier in the game. There was just a deep pass, a pass across the middle. They were involving him all over the field. But the one that I think is most important to me, it was actually the one he caught. I forget. It was early on. He was almost wide open across the middle.
Yeah.
But it was after a play that kind of broke down. Jared Goff had to sort of sneak out of the pocket scramble a little bit. It was Jamison Williams who came across the field to find that open space. So he and Jared Goff are getting on the same page. I know it ended up wide open, but that's because Jamison Williams knew the space to get into on defense. And when things broke down, Jared Goff was looking for him. So to me, looking long term, that's everything. But in terms of this game, just targeting him, even if he didn't make those catches, that opened up so much for the rest of their players. We then saw Sam Laporta have a historic day. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a huge day. There was a lot they could do over the middle of the field that was opened up by targeting Jamison Williams. And let's not forget Josh Reynolds too. He had a pretty darn good game.
Dude, he had he got open on Surtain.
Yeah.
And he was that if you can do that against Patrick, Josh Reynolds is good.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, Surtain, he was on J-Mo a lot. Like once they started going to him, Patrick Surtain, he was the one who had to follow him. And that you take their best cornerback off of St. Brown, off of Josh Reynolds. I know he moved around a little bit, but that's huge. Huge.
You know what? It's funny that you guys mentioned all of that because a light bulb kind of went off in my head, and I just want to make a little statement really quick. We're talking about all of the offensive weapons that the Lions have, and the phrase always gets thrown around, there's only one ball, or there's too many mouths to feed. Well, every single mouth got fed in that game. You talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jamison Williams, Josh Reynolds, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. Every single one of those guys were standouts in that game, and I think they were all major contributors, and they'd all be happy with their roles. But speaking of one of their offensive contributors, Matt Broder, does Jahmyr Gibbs have best running back in the NFL potential maybe by next year or the year after?
Yes. Yeah, he can do it all. I mean, he
Yeah.
can run in between the tackles, he can run outside the tackles, and he can catch the ball. And the players talk about how much he improves in the pass block game each and every week. That just means he's going to see the field more and more over the course of this year and the field. But the things he can do when he gets that ball, however you get into his hands, he's got game-breaking speed. He can break it for the end. Like, he just needs a sliver of space, similar to Jamison Williams, and he could be gone. But I love seeing how tough he ran. It was some of those plays, both his touchdown pass, it was a 12-yard touchdown pass where he lowered his shoulder right at the end of the run to get into the end zone, and there was one earlier on where he lowered his shoulder before going out of bounds. I can't not think about that interaction between Deuce Staley and DeAndre Swift on Hard Knocks, where Deuce is challenging him to finish off his runs and not just kind of jog out of bounds. Jahmyr Gibbs, he wants it, and he wants to be the best, and that's something you can't teach. You pair that with the offensive line and with David Montgomery. As long as they keep this balanced and he stays healthy, of course, he could definitely be the best running back in the league.
Yeah, him and David, best duo in the NFL, point blank. Like, those two guys and what they provide. And it's interesting for Jahmyr, and Sam brought him up, and I'm glad he did, because I want to ask you for Brad Holmes. There's a reason why people say trust Brad, and even though people may be frustrated with certain things and they say, well, I do trust Brad, but this, one thing you can't deny is what he got for trading back in the 2023 NFL Draft.
Yes.
I mean, you got Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta, who are already one of the best at their positions. Like Matt Broder, and I know Lions fans were kind of accustomed to it. We're like, well, yeah, Brad Holmes found two more. Like, that is unbelievable.
Yeah,
like, that does not happen in the NFL typically. And Jack Campbell's playing really well too. But for Jahmyr and Sam Laporta to already be one of the best at their positions, and they're only going to get better, and they're in their rookie year. And he traded back. He got more assets to get those guys. It's unbelievable what Brad Holmes has been able to do.
And he didn't fall into these. Like, these two were two players that he targeted.
Yes.
Like, he could have had Bijan Robinson. He could have had Jalen Carter. But he could have had Bijan. He traded back, and he knew he went after Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. He could have had Michael Mayer. He could have had a plethora of tight ends. He wanted Sam Laporta. They saw something in these two guys that they knew they could build around. And this is sort of the vision coming to shape. Sam Laporta has been historic as a tight end. And you look at I was thinking about this, and I was talking to Booner about this last night. As a baseball player, as a pitcher, like, the most important thing you can do as a pitcher, and me not being a hard thrower, it was all about changing speeds, just trying to keep the hitter off balance, trying to keep their...
This holiday season, it's going to be busy. It's going to be emotional. But it's going to be worth it. With McCormick, it's going to be great.
Him in the run game. He can break it himself, but he's also hard to bring down. He's hard to tackle. Then you have Jahmyr Gibbs coming with a whole different type of speed and running style. They're both playing great right now, and it's just a really good balance. It's hard to predict what they're going to do when they're both out in the field, and even when one's off and one's on, the offense is completely open with what they can do as players.
Yeah, another former Brad Holmes draft pick, Josh Pascal.
Ooh.
Hey, I'm just glad he's, number one, he's healthy, but number two, it's taking some time now, but it seems like, talk about confidence. That's another guy that without Aleem McNeil, they needed him on Saturday, and he stepped up as well.
Yes.
He created some pressure, especially on that interior. They needed it.
That's the key, that interior. Like, there was pretty consistent pressure from Aiden, from Bruce Irvin. The edges actually played a pretty good game, but it was that pressure up the middle that allowed... That really contained Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Like, the one thing you worry about with good edge pressure is letting Russell Wilson or any semi-mobile quarterback sort of sneak out and improvise. That's when Russ is his best, and actually when he looks to throw it deep. But when they did that, we saw Josh Pascal, we saw Bugs, Benito Jones. Even Broderick Martin had a couple snaps in there. When they were getting pushed from the middle, from that interior, Russ had nowhere to go, and he had to find, whether it was dumping it down to Javonte Williams or just making a throw more difficult than he would like, trying to go for Troutman and not able to find Cortland Sutton down the field. It was a really, really great effort from that defensive line. That front seven as a whole, I thought they played great.
Yeah, it'll go a long way. If you're a team that can run the football effectively and you can stop the run, That's the start. Like that'll put you in a lot of ball games. It keep you in a lot of ball games. But I appreciate you, Broder. You can check Broder out. Woodward nights, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. You can check out his stuff, woodwardsports.com. Follow him on X, whatever the hell Twitter I'd call it still. But regardless, Matt Bro.
Thank you guys. Matt Bro 21.
There you go.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Broder. You can hang with us if you like. I know you got a busy man. He's been here for a couple hours here. But we're gonna go to break. When we come back, we'll get into we'll play Dan Campbell's little snippet from his press conference talking about their goal this season and what that goal has always been and has not changed. We'll preview that when we come back.